So, let's get the better picture of the kitties, just for you guys. They're good boys. They deserve the recognition. So, I crashed out when Chester and I broke up. I got my chest pierced, and I got my first tattoo. I'll show you. I have 15, by the way, so you're gonna have quite the story. Let me see if I can just. Always love yourself first. And I did that. It's covered now, but the I did that for a couple of reasons. Because the scars on my wrist were still very prominent, and my finger was embedded with the shape of the promise ring. And every time I looked at that, which is obviously all the time, it's right in front of me, I hated myself more and more and more. And so, actually, 7 days after we broke up, I got my chest done. And then 11 days after we broke up, I got that tattoo. Um, and that tattoo to me stands for something extremely profound in my journey because this was the first moment that I realized I didn't love myself and I needed to. Um, although that year was the best and worst year of my life. And I can say that confidently because the only reason I made it was because I found such extreme joy and I found a friendship. And that's also the year I met my husband. Well, yeah, it was the year I met my husband. So, I keep going on. And within the span of a month, the guilt still wore heavy on me. But along with that was so much relief. More relief than I ever anticipated, right? Like this breakup happened, and in my head, I'm like, I'm never going to recover. I'm never going to be okay again, and I don't deserve to be. Um, this is when the bipolar disorder really started rearing ahead. And pretty much for months and months and months throughout that year, I spent fluctuating into different mood swings. Like I said, I was living with John and Elle, and they never judged me for it. Well, they might have judged me for it, but they never stopped me from being myself. And I wasn't used to that, right? Because, like, there's something about these two that just made me feel safe. And I don't know if it was just like what they did for me, um, or if it was like the adventures that we started getting into. Um, Now, around this time, I should probably specify that I'd been overweight my whole life. Um, well, after the second grade. And with Chester, I had been the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. And so leaving that relationship, I kind of went through a transformation of sorts because I stopped eating and I would supplement meals with alcohol. And I wasn't doing pills anymore. That stopped pretty much after Chester and I broke up, but I was drinking on an empty stomach. And my drink of choice was 2 shots of vodka and 1 shot of green apple schnapps. And I would do that regularly, like multiple times a day. Um, and with that came this reckless energy that I had never really given into before, but this time I did. Um, that year, to cover the scars on my upper thighs, because that was the next thing I hated, I got purple bows on each of my hips to cover the scars. Um, I discovered what dating life was like. I went through a whole realm of heartbreak through that. Endured so many different types of people. And I made the mistake. And by the way, don't do this if you're out of high school now. Don't sleep with your classmates. But anyway, I made the mistake of getting close to a classmate. We were talking, we went on a date. We went on multiple dates. And it was like right before, like he was talking about relationships and stuff. And then when we did the deed, the next day he was like, "Hey, so you know how when you sleep with someone and you're like, wow, I don't even really fuck with them like that? Yeah, that sucked. That broke my heart." And actually, Keeb and I were friends at that point. Typical friends to lovers romance, by the way. I love it. Um, but Keeb and I were friends at that point, and I was telling him about it and venting. I remember having just this intense infatuation for a coworker. And I think he definitely knew I had an intense infatuation because he gave me attention. And he would make comments like, well, he'd be crazy not to want to be with someone like you, like shit like that. Um, I think he also just liked the attention, which is fine. Um, Nothing ever really came of that. Although once Keeb and I started dating, I told him that he would have been the absolute worst type for me, and he did not like that answer. So I no, doesn't matter. I've been married for over 5 years now. So, um, I went on a date. Sorry, essay warning, essay warning. And y'all are really getting the details here. Um, Actually, no, you're not. That's wild. I went on a date with a guy, um, that was in the military, and it was under the guise that we would have dinner and we would watch The Office. And yeah, and my mother's voice rung in my head from all that while ago, telling me and I told myself she was right. She knew this was going to happen, and I did what she told me to do. Um, After that, I developed this mindset of if that's all they want, then that's what I'll give them. And that's what I did. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore, so we're gonna move on. Um, so I really spiraled after that. Um, I became very promiscuous, just like B always told me I would be. Um, I was drinking all the time. I was purging because I was overeating after that point, and I'd started losing weight, and I did want to stop. Don't do that, by the way. Um, I promise that you are better off taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, than you are doing what I did. Um, I met this guy, his name was Kyle, and for me, it was like love at first sight. Um, I was obsessed with him almost immediately, and that's wild, because he was like not a good person at all. And some examples I have of this is that he used to deal heroin, or maybe it was some sort of drug. I'm pretty sure it was heroin. Um, and he was actually a dealer for a friend of one of my loved ones, and I still chose to pursue him. He just made me feel alive. I wasn't used to, he made me feel alive. He had a kid. He was living with his dad. He was 8 years older than me. Um, I don't know, he sang to me. It was like one of those, it wasn't love by any means. I thought it was, though. Thought it was like, my mother, when she said, when you know, you know. And I thought this was, I knew it. I did. Like, I felt alive. I felt passionate. I felt so overwhelmed and infatuated. I remember going home from that date and telling Ellen John, like, this has changed my life forever. Like, I'm gonna marry that man. Um, Obviously joking, because at this time I didn't believe in marriage, but then he ghosted me like 3 weeks into seeing each other. And that's really important for later on. Actually, I might just make this video longer so I can explain. That way you don't have to click through multiple videos to hear it. So, um, 3 months pass after this, and I'm just distraught, guys. Like, I spend like 3 times the amount of time we were even talking, just heartbroken over this guy. Um, and I got back into being promiscuous. Um, and when October came around, obviously there was Halloween parties. Now, Keeb and I worked together. Um, and we had this mutual friend. We were friends with each other. Oh, let me go back a step, actually. I remember after the Kyle thing, Keeb asked me what was wrong, and I explained to him, and I started crying. And he told me, we can talk about this after work. Do you want to get Taco Bell with me? And I said yes. I so we sat in the car, we talked. He was very sweet, he was very attentive, but it was platonic. I didn't get the impression that he was creepy at all, or he was just genuinely kind and listening. And and so in my head I'm like, wow, he's a really good person. He's very kind. Um I'm glad I'm friends with him. Um so then the Halloween party happens. And that night, I had no intentions of going anywhere, by the way. Um, that night, the mutual friend, Katie, she invited me to a Halloween party. Um, Now, something to know about Katie is that she's eccentric, and I still love the girl to this day, but she has a lot of friends, and she like is very social with them, which is not a bad thing. But I said no initially, and then she told me Keeb was going, and I had this thought in my head of, well, if I don't go, then Keeb's gonna be like on the sidelines by himself the whole night, and that sucks. So I agreed to go. I found out that he had the same thought about me, which is wild. So we both went to this party for each other. And right away, Keeb knew something was wrong because I didn't hesitate. I just got this fucking plastered. I got plastered. Um, And I was right. She hung out with her friends. She spoke with her friends, and it was just him and me. And he took care of me the whole night. He like walked me through places. He made sure I was eating. He stayed behind to walk with me. Um, and I drunkenly gave him the nickname Cantaloupe. I don't know why, but it still sticks to this day. That's like the OG nickname I gave him. Um, but anyway, we're hanging out, and like I said, it's totally platonic even now. He's super sweet to me. Um, so we go through the night like that, and I still have the photo. If he's okay with his face being shown, I'll have to show you because it's really cool to look at. But I went as the light of your life. It was my impromptu Halloween costume. It was just all black clothing with Christmas lights, battery powered, wrapped around my body. Um, anyway, so yeah, he like took care of me. We went back to Emma Kate's. Sorry, Emma Kate. I tried. I just slipped through. Um, love you. But we went back to her dorm room, and Keeb and I ended up laying on this twin-sized bed, and we were just like casually chatting with each other and like giggling to ourselves about like just random things. I don't even remember what it was. And I remember I was talking to someone that night, um, promiscuously over the internet that I had previously worked with. And I had stopped responding to him. Keeb and I were laying face to face chatting, talking, and we had the sweetest, most innocent kiss I've ever had in my life. Um, I didn't think anything of it. Well, I did when I was drunk because I went to the bathroom and Emma Kate's friend asked me about it, and I said, I don't know what's going on. I was too drunk. I was way too drunk. Now, the next morning, I had to drive him back to his car, which was wild and kind of terrifying, um, and uncomfortable. We didn't really say anything the whole time, and the whole time I was thinking, like, I ruined a friendship. Like, he was such a kind guy to me, and I ruined it. Um, and I'm awful, and I can't do anything right, and now we're never gonna talk again, and he's always been so kind to me. Just all of these thoughts of like, I ruined this. Like, we lost this thing, this friendship. Um, he had to go to work. I worked later that day, and he sent me a Snapchat right before he went in, and he said, something along the lines of, I really just want to get to know you. I didn't pursue you because I didn't want you to think I was like every other guy and like I only saw you for your body. Um, but I really want to have dinner with you and just figure out what this is. Um, and so I agreed to go on a date with him. And the night of the date, our first date, literally hours before Keeb showed up, Kyle texted me saying that he was falling in love with me and that he was sorry he got scared. Now, I talk a lot about moments that saved my life. I don't talk about moments that the best decision I ever made. And this was one of them. Because you know how I felt about Kyle. Um, and I responded to that text saying, I have something with someone else and I want to see where it goes. And I never spoke with Kyle again. Okay, so not gonna lie, that video low-key sucked to make, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna talk about Keeb and I's first date. So stay tuned.